Have you ever watched someone abuse power so confidently, so arrogantly, that you just know karma is warming up in the background? Because when my HOA president blocked my driveway and told me I can park wherever I want, she had absolutely no idea what was sitting in my garage. And by the next morning, her luxury SUV wouldn't even look like a car anymore. It all started on a Tuesday morning. The kind of morning where everything matters because you're already running late. I had a massive presentation at work, the kind where missing it doesn't just look bad, it follows you for years. I grabbed my keys, my laptop bag, hit the garage door opener, and froze. Because my driveway was completely blocked. Not partially. Not I can squeeze around it. Blocked. Sitting dead center across the end of my driveway was a massive white luxury SUV. Brand new. Spotless. Parked so perfectly sideways that there was no possible angle I could escape from. I already knew who it belonged to. Linda. The HOA president. She didn't park near the curb. She didn't pull up for a minute. She parked like she owned my house. I honked once. Nothing. I honked again. Still nothing. That's when frustration turned into disbelief. I got out of my car and walked straight to her house. I knocked. Hard. After a few seconds, the door opened. Linda stood there holding a glass of red wine. At 9 in the morning. She looked relaxed. Comfortable. Smug. Linda, I said, forcing calm into my voice, you're blocking my driveway. I need you to move your car. I'm late for work. She took a slow sip of her wine and smiled. Oh, Alex, she said, waving her hand dismissively, relax. I'm conducting a visual inspection of the neighborhood's curb appeal. I blinked. A visual inspection, from inside your house? She leaned against the doorframe. Yes. My car needs to stay there for official HOA business. I stared at her. You're drinking wine. She shrugged. Multitasking. My patience was hanging by a thread. If you don't move it, I said, I'll have to call a tow truck. She laughed. Not nervously. Confidently. Honey, she said, I am the HOA president. I have the towing company on speed dial. They won't touch my car. Then she smiled wider. Take an Uber. And she slammed the door. I stood there for a moment, stunned. She wasn't just rude. She wasn't just entitled. She was enjoying it. I had no choice. I called a taxi and watched from the window as it awkwardly maneuvered around her SUV. The entire ride to work, my jaw was clenched. But anger alone doesn't solve anything. Planning does. On the way home that evening, I made a stop at the hardware store. Not because I wanted revenge. And definitely not because I wanted to damage her car. That would be illegal. No, I wanted to do something much better. When I got home, her SUV was still there. She'd left it overnight. Just to prove a point. That's when I stopped being angry and started being strategic. I went inside, grabbed my HOA rulebook, and sat down at the kitchen table. Linda loved rules. She weaponized them. Used them to bully neighbors, fine people, and feel important. So I read every page. And then I found it. Rule 402, Section C. All vehicles parked outdoors must be kept clean and protected from the elements at all times. I read it again. Protected from the elements. I smiled. Oh, Linda, I whispered, say less. I walked into my garage and looked at the box I had just bought. Inside were 20 rolls of industrial-grade pallet shrink wrap. This wasn't flimsy kitchen plastic. This was the kind of wrap warehouses use to secure bricks, machinery, and literal tons of cargo. Thick. Sticky. Nearly impossible to tear by hand. I waited until 2 a.m. The neighborhood was silent. Streetlights reflected off her windshield like a spotlight. I put on work gloves, grabbed the first roll, and tied the end of the plastic to her rear bumper. I looked at her house one last time. Safety first, I whispered. And I began. The first layer was light. Just a thin glaze. But I didn't stop. I went around the hood. Around the doors. Under the bumpers. The plastic stretched tight, clinging to every curve. I wrapped the roof. I wrapped the mirrors so tightly they folded inward and vanished. I wrapped the windshield wipers so they couldn't lift. Then came my favorite part. The door handles. I pulled the plastic so tight that every handle flattened completely. Buried. Gone. There was nothing to grab, just a smooth, slippery surface. By the 10th roll, the car didn't look real anymore. By the 15th, it looked like a silver cocoon. I didn't stop. I went to 50 layers. Before sealing the final layer, I taped a bright orange note to the driver's side window. It read, "Per HOA Rule 402, this vehicle has been protected from the elements. You're welcome. Alex." Then I sealed it under the final layer of plastic. The car was airtight. No oxygen. No access. No mercy. My arms were sore. My hands were shaking. But I slept better than I had in months. The next morning, I didn't need an alarm clock. Linda's scream woke me up. I made a cup of coffee and walked to the window. There she was. Standing in my driveway. In a bathrobe. Staring at what used to be her SUV. She looked like she was hallucinating. She pressed the unlock button on her key fob. Click. Click. Somewhere deep inside the plastic, you could hear the faint beep beep. Nothing moved. She rushed to the driver's side and tried to grab the handle. Her hand slid right off. She tried again. Harder. Nothing. She clawed at it with her manicured nails. Industrial wrap is designed to hold concrete. Her nails didn't stand a chance. That's when I walked outside, sipping my coffee. "Good morning, Linda," I said casually. "Your car looks very protected today." She spun around, face red. "What did you do?" she screamed. "I can't get in." "Just following the rules," I said. "Rule 402. She stormed back inside and came out with kitchen scissors. She stabbed at the plastic. They bounced. Layered shrink wrap doesn't cut like plastic. It behaves like hard rubber. She screamed again. Eventually, she had to call a professional. It cost her $200. And it took him over an hour to peel it off like a giant silver banana. And the best part? Once the car was finally free, the tow truck I had called the night before finally arrived. And because she was still blocking my driveway, they towed it. Linda hasn't parked anywhere near my house since. And every time I see her at HOA meetings, she avoids eye contact. If you enjoyed this story, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because this is just one of many HOA stories where rules finally work both ways.